Hey there, hot stuff. You like icebergs? Of course you do. That's why you clicked on this video. Or maybe you're half asleep and YouTube autoplay is on, in which case, wake up. Today's video is about the Mothman. Are you going to enjoy it? Probably. Maybe not. I'm not going to drag out the intro. It's an iceberg. This is your soul, and this is what I'm going to do to it if you don't subscribe at the end of the video. So consider that. Now, without further ado, because every YouTuber ever uses ado, go ahead and just enjoy the video. I'll see you in there.
Point Pleasant. Alright, this one's pretty simple. Point Pleasant is a township in West Virginia that the original sightings that were first reported happened in 1966. I recorded this segment of the video a few days ago, but I was editing and noticed that I said 1996, so I had to come back and redo that. Not 96, 66. That is when our favorite moth boy was detected, you know? That's when he flew over the car, scared the kids, inspired Scooby-Doo for decades to come. Stuff like that. Red glowing eyes. You'll never guess what Mothman has. Yeah, that's right. Our boy here, he's got red glowing eyes. Shocking. It's such a twist. George R. R. Martin should put this in the next Game of Thrones book because I could have never, ever seen the fact that red glowing eyes means it has red glowing eyes coming. You know, my sarcasm aside, pretty obvious, pretty easy entry level stuff. A good second entry. The Mothman Prophecies. It's a movie. The Mothman Prophecies, according to Wikipedia, which I have on screen here, is a 2002 American supernatural mystery film uh, based on the 1975 book of the same name by parapsychologist and Fortean author John Keel. The screenplay was written by Richard Hatem, it's directed by some other guy, and it basically just follows some dramatized Mothman mythos. I have no clue how good this is. Let's go down to critical reception. Critical response. Among the mainstream critics in the US, the film received mixed reviews. Rotten Tomatoes reported that 52% of 140 sampled critics gave the film a positive review. Now, I have a friend who is extraordinarily obsessed with Mothman. The things this woman says about Mothman are just so fucking unhinged. It's ridiculous. I have texted her. She's probably asleep right now because I do not sleep. So we'll see in real time whether or not like actual Mothman people, enjoyers, oh, that's her right now, know about Mothman prophecies. Alright, so I'm back. After 40 minutes of discussing Mothman, I'm back. As it would turn out, the Mothman prophecies is very well known amongst the Mothman community. I'm sorry for doubting. The three original sightings. All right, we're back on Wikipedia. So there was three sightings at first through November 1966. Two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, told police they'd seen a large white creatures whose eyes glowed red standing at the side of the road near the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant. Linda Scarberry described it as a slender, muscular man, about 7 feet tall, yada yada. And then during the next few days, other people reported similar sightings, and that was the original three sightings. Did I get the third original sighting in there? No. Be sure to degrade me in the comments about that. This was taught to me by someone greatly into Mothman. You're going to hear her mentioned a lot in this video because that woman's knowledge of Mothman it's almost intimidating. Basically, the bomb shelter is where two of the three original sightings were. What is the bomb shelter? Well, it's that munitions plant bunker dual combo area where in World War II they made bombs and they had shelters there, so if you needed to hide from bombs, you could, and then it was just used to store TNT. And now, the bomb shelter is known for Mothman. Chernobyl. Alright, so I have to just laugh a little at how it's spelt on the iceberg. You know, it's Eastern European words can be hard sometimes, but boy, is that an intriguing spelling. So, there were sightings of something very Mothman-esque at Chernobyl before, things went before there was the little silly that happened in Chernobyl that was very important. It also follows the trend of Mothman appearing in years that have 6 or 7 in them, because in April of 1986 is when the people around Chernobyl nuclear power plant began to see, strange shit. A big guy with wings, glowing red eyes. Does it sound like anyone? Yeah, that's right. Our Lord and Savior Mothman, our little guy. He's made it all the way to Europe, or maybe he hasn't. Now, of course, maybe this is just coincidence, but if you follow the Mothman mythos, it makes sense. He tends to appear where bad stuff is about to happen. That's why he spends a lot of time in the Midwest. But yeah, how do you like this questionable ass website I found, Cryptid Spot? This is a weird spot to read about the Blackbird of Chernobyl, which is the official name for the Mothman spotted. But I mean, come on, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably not a goose. The collapsed bridge. This is essential to Mothman mythos. The Silver Bridge, which connects West Point, Pleasant Point, Virginia, to Ohio. Cursed place that it be. Swag like Ohio, down in Ohio, fucking all these bitches. A lot of YouTubers suffer from autism or ADHD, and sometimes I just let that get out of hand. Back on topic. Basically, the bridge that connects Point Pleasant and my fucking god, Gallipolis, Ohio, had opened up to traffic, and it was the first bridge in the nation to use an innovative I-bar link suspension system. Boy, did that work out well. One of those I-bars had a small unseen defect. You can see I'm reading it from the article here. And the faulty I-bar eventually cracked and began to corrode out of sight from public or bridge inspectors. And then on December 15th, 1967, the bridge failed. Now, why is this connected to Mothman? Because our boy had been seen in the area, and some people are like, oh my god, the fucking moth did it. And some people are like, well, maybe the moth isn't a terrorist, he's just an omen. Some people don't even think that Mothman has anything to do with the bridge, and I think that would make sense. I think it's just kind of a coincidence, a little bit of a coinky-dink. And you might be like, oh, but how can the YouTube man say that? Well, I just did. That's how. Just a crane. This is a theory that Mothman was not a moth cryptid. It was just a crane. That is not very feel his love of the people who say this, and it's just outright boring. Listen, is it logical? Yeah. If I were to do what I normally do when I'm investigating things and whip out Occam's razor, people seeing a bird and being like, "Wah, not a bird," pretty likely. But you know what else it is? It's just boring, man. Let there be magic in the world. Let strange and confusing things exist. Just a crane? Maybe. I can't prove it though, so I'm not going to say that it is or it isn't. I'm just going to bring it up and then pretentiously dance around the actual subject. The statue. Yep, that's right. There is, in fact, a statue of Mothman. Look at him. No, not the street corner. The Mothman. Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous guy. God damn, he's caked up. The alien theory. Now, this is a theory that Mothman is an alien. Why would we believe this? Well, because I love how passive-aggressively Wikipedia puts it. Some pseudoscience adherents. God. Now that is an academic insult for those not so familiar with the lingo. Now, why would we say it's aliens? Well, the guy who wrote the Mothman Prophecies, which is shockingly very popular amongst the Mothman community, fellow by the name of Keel, claimed that Point Pleasant residents experienced precognitions, including premonitions of the collapse of the Silver Bridge, UFO sightings, and visits from inhuman or threatening men in black, as well as some other wonky phenomena. Now, the men in black show up where there's alien activity. So the logic follows, men in black are showing up, supposedly. Why wouldn't it be an alien? The men in black are like your alien guys. Makes sense, right? Okay, now, anything else for the UFO? Not really. There's no UFOs, there's just the weird-ass Mothman. Is it possible? Sure. I mean, it is. But do I think it's likely? No. Disruption of electronic devices. Like most supernatural entities, electronic devices go fucky-wucky when Mothman is around. That made zero goddamn sense. Disruption of electronic devices. As is the case with most supernatural entities, when Mothman is around, electricity, it don't. No more electricity. Does that make sense? Do you follow? Good. Mothman is a Grim Reaper. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is the idea that the Mothman is actually the Grim Reaper himself, because he shows up where there may be disasters. I personally don't think so. Not only did I have this explained to me by the Mothman aficionado herself, who by all means, I should not be the one making this video. That should have been all her. Um, but basically, none of the people who have actually seen Mothman have died yet. Big emphasis on yet. So if Mothman was the Grim Reaper coming to claim their souls, why would he not just do so? Alright? Like, I know for a fact I could probably take on several supernatural entities in a fist fight and win. But I don't think I'm outboxing the Grim Reaper, and neither are some random teens in the 60s. The Grim Reaper would have just taken their asses. Now, while we're here, I do have a little theory about Mothman that I think would make sense, and it's connected to Pokemon. So in Gen 4, there was this Pokemon Absol, and because Pokemon lore is fucking horrifying, holy shit is Pokemon lore dark, Absol shows up where bad things happen. Not because, like, Absol is committing crimes and just mass murder, homicide, fucking viciously killing people. No, because Absol feeds off of the energy in places where bad things are about to happen. I think that makes more sense connecting that to Mothman than like, oh, Mothman is the angel of death. The LSD theory. Alright, so I also had this one explained to me again by my friend who, God bless autistic women and their hyperfixations. She explained most of this iceberg to me, actually. The LSD theory is the idea that Mothman was spotted not because there was something in the area, but because the CIA at an earlier point had put LSD into the water a few hundred miles away. So maybe that LSD, years afterwards, got into the water at Point Pleasant and they hallucinated it. This isn't likely. This is a stretch. Like, you'd probably have an easier time making this an actual theory if you just accused the kids of doing LSD themselves. To say it's in the tap water because the CIA is pretty preposterous, alright? The CIA is fucking Evil Incorporated brought to the earth. The CIA does some Looney Tunes ass shit, alright? I don't put anything past the CIA, but the CIA is also pretty honest about what they were doing 3 decades ago. I mean, there's definitely documents we'll never see, the Most Highness stuff, but a lot of their evil is just full public knowledge. Freedom of Information Act, you can get it right there. We already know everything we know about MK Ultra to be like, the CIA was also doing this other stuff with LSD that they didn't tell anyone about. I mean, sure, it's possible, but it's just really not likely. Mothman is a guardian. Alright, so Mothman is a guardian is a theory that Mothman is some kind of, like, protecting spirit and or guardian angel. I mean, all the people who saw him are still alive. However, just Mothman's tendency to show up where there's about to be disasters makes it possible, but I don't know. I really don't think so. I think it's... Listen, I know, the wacky unhinged YouTuber who discusses unsolved mysteries and conspiracy on the regular is like, oh, coincidence. It's out of character, but I think Mothman's just a guy, man. Like, he's just Jay chillin'. Radioactive bird sanctuary. This one's pretty good. This is part of the long history of the United States government being so incredibly diabolical that when you try to explain it, it's almost like explaining the plot to a Looney Tunes episode. Like, you just cannot believe it. But there was a lot of radioactive testing going on. You know, we had just made atomic bombs. We were getting a little funky with those after learning that it wouldn't ignite the atmosphere. So there was a radioactive bird sanctuary. Maybe, just maybe, we hulkified a crane. and that is what happened. Um, just a giant radioactive bird fucking around. This would make sense, except one, that's not how radioactive mutations work, and two, Mothman is still sighted in the Midwest place of misery that it be pretty recently. So I don't think it's possible unless we also made the crane immortal, which again isn't exactly how radioactive mutation works. Like, it makes wildlife weird, don't get me wrong, there's some bizarre shit going on in Chernobyl, but it's not making the bird big. It's not the biggest bird. The Banshee and the construction site. So this one threw both me and my very Mothman knowledgeable friend for a loop. I had no clue what this was supposed to be. Neither did she. And after watching this woman from memory, almost verbatim spit articles back out at me about Mothman topics, and then having her not know what this one is, almost makes me think that it's like made up, like it just does not exist. However, I have kept looking, and I haven't found much. Now, there is a theory that Mothman is a banshee, and that he has ties to ancient folklore. There's also banshees that have been spotted around the same area of Appalachia, because the Appalachian Mountains are just a cursed place. You know, they're old. They're older than alligators. I don't trust them. So maybe that's what's cooking there. There's also just the idea that maybe some people are trying to connect it, Banshees, Mothman, Appalachian lore, because it all just fits together nicely. Ultimately, I don't have much to go off of from this, and yeah, that's it. I don't have much to go off of from this. The Chicago sightings. Yeah, that's right. Our boy has been spotted in Chicago, which I believe is in Illinois, right? Yeah. Illinois got a lot of weird places in it, you know? Illinois is just a strange land. Anywhooms, the Mothman has been spotted in northern Illinois before. He was spotted in 57, something very much so alike to Mothman, so it's possible that the Chicago Mothman sightings and the northern Illinois Mothman sightings actually outdate the West Virginia Mothman sightings. Man with a wingsuit. Of all the possible theories, I think this is by far the dumbest. This was in the 60s. Wingsuits were not that refined yet. The original sightings, the ones I just mentioned in Illinois, was like 57. Wingsuits were not all that yet. I mean, the idea is satisfying. Like it's good to roll around the tongue a little. Just some Scooby-Doo ass villain getting up in this fucking Mothman outfit. It's funny, but I don't think it's likely. I don't think that's what's cooking here. 9/11, my favorite joke topic. What does this have to do with Mothman? Well, there was a very poorly photoshopped 9/11 sighting of Mothman. It's pretty universally agreed that this is just a bullshit hoax, mostly because, like, Mothman was not there. But, God, the Pinterest, the images, it's just the biggest tragedy in modern American history. And it's the moth guy is there. You have to see the humor in that. Now, of course, I'm not making a Pinterest account. God, I spare my email inbox for my YouTube account. No, it's pretty universally agreed upon that this is just bullshit. It's just bullshit. There's no way Mothman was in New York on 9/11. So many more people would have seen it if so, because there was a massive amount of people in New York on 9/11. Because there's just a massive amount of people in New York. And that's one of the most memorable days of the new millennium. There would be a lot more hubbub if Mothman was there. I really don't think Mothman was there on 9/11, but the concept that he was is amusing. UFO sightings. There was also UFO sightings at the time. This was the 60s after all, which is why some people speculate that Mothman might have been an alien separated from his ship. Pretty simple, open and shut, you know? Men in Black. This merits its own video in and of itself, but the Men in Black tend to show up wherever weird supernatural stuff is happening, and they just show up to tell you that it's not happening and that you shouldn't talk about it. So, of course, there is allegations that the Men in Black were spotted when Mothman was about, because Mothman is weird supernatural, Men in Black deal with the weird and supernatural. It makes sense, right? Mothman doesn't technically fly. I don't think I don't agree. He like flew over the car. I mean, maybe it's some Buzz Lightyear. This isn't flying, it's falling, but I really doubt it. It was all a publicity stunt. Oh boy, this is the most exciting, groundbreaking theory ever. In all of the discourse to ever be had about a cryptid, this is the most interesting statement, and I appreciate it so much. It's so good and cool and great. Totally. This is basically stating that Mothman was a hoax, and do I think that that's possible? Sure, but I mean, it's just not fun to talk about, man. Listen, we're a bunch of silly monkeys on a spinning rock, and we're all destined to die. We might as well have a little bit of amusement, you know? Sure, is the weird thing in the woods, is it not real? Maybe. I don't know. I can't say for sure. And I like not being able to say for sure. Is the mystery of some things the fun of them? Yeah. Would it be cool if it was solved? Yeah, but right now let's just enjoy the weird moth guy in the woods. We don't need a, whoa, it was faked! Chief Cornstalk's curse, alongside lysergic acid, definitely not an illegal substance that may or may not have been discussed on the iceberg. My goblin-pilled gremlin mode son, who's on the thumbnail. Chief Cornstalk is also on the thumbnail, and here's why. So, right around a few centuries before Mothman, there was some tensions in West Virginia, let's say. Now, why was this? Well, because the Europeans were not in Europe, and the Native Americans were not cool with that. Because if some pale ass motherfucker showed up to your house and started fucking shit up, you probably wouldn't be too happy about it either. Now, of course, settlers decided, yeah, we're just gonna kill you. And the Native Americans were like, okay, well, that's not cool, man. And so started the Indian Wars, as they're called historically. One of the greatest foes in these wars was Chief Cornstalk, but later he became a friend to the Americans. This wouldn't go wrong at all. It did. Basically, Chief Cornstalk started meddling a little bit with politics. He protected people. He was bought off. White settlers helped with Cornstalk. Basically, he started meddling in Yankee politics. This was not exactly a good idea. He should have just let the white folk be. I mean, really, the white folk shouldn't have been there, but it. that's a whole different video in and of itself. Now, of course, Native Americans started having problems with Americans again in the 1770s when shit started getting fucky-wucky. And then, of course, war broke out, and Chief Cornstalk was involved with it. Not very much so, but just enough for him to be arrested and held hostage. And he's like, hey, this isn't cool, man. I'm like helping you guys out here. I've sided with you before. Why are you doing this? And the white people are like, well, because we're comically evil, dude. I can't even. I don't understand how historical people existed because, like, just reading off some of the shit that they did. Why? Why would you do that? Are you even a human being? Now, of course, he was then shot 8 times. Now, of course, he's laying on the floor of his prison, dying, and he's said to have pronounced a now legendary curse. He said, I was the borderman's friend, and many times I saved him and his people from harm. I never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I refused to join your pale-face enemies with the red coats. I came to the fort as your friend, and you murdered me. You've murdered by my side my young son. For this may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted by nature. May it be blighted in its hopes. May the strengths of its peoples be paralyzed by the stain of our blood. Now that is a fucking banger final statement. Like, that will strike fear and awe into someone. So kudos to him for coming up with that after having been shot 8 times. Now, of course, in 1794, the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, was established near the site of the old fort where Chief Cornstalk was shot, and for many years, the Native American's grave laid undisturbed. But in 1840, his bones were removed to the grounds of Mason County Courthouse, where in 1899 a monument was erected in Cornstalk's memory. This isn't going to go wrong. In the late 1950s, a new courthouse was built in Point Pleasant, and the chief's remains, which now consisted of 3 teeth and 15 pieces of bone, were placed in an aluminum box and reinterred in a corner of the town's Two-Indie Way Park, next to a grave of Virginia frontiersmen that Cornstalk once fought and later befriended. A 12-foot monument was erected in his honor. Now, of course, then things started to get weird. All right, there's a few monuments dedicated to the period in Point Pleasant. You know, one's 86 feet tall and was dedicated in August of 1909, 1 month behind schedule. Of course, they all kept getting struck by lightning. All right, that's what you need to know. There's these giant granite blocks up in West Virginia that just keep getting struck by lightning. Now, why would the granite blocks be struck by lightning when granite is not a very lightning attractive material? Except for the fact that the guy who you erected them to was like, yeah, I fucking curse you, bitch. I hope my god fucks yo shit up. Now it's getting struck by lightning? So the idea is that Mothman is part of this curse. Do I think that this is necessarily true? Probably not. Do I think it is a long part of a very interesting phenomena where American folklore, as developed by current Eurocentric American culture, has a distinct out-of-place feeling with the rest of the land? Yes, and that is a topic for a different video. But it's just more Mothman lore, you know? When his body was moved, Mothman started showing up. Maybe Mothman is just a vengeful spirit, part of Chief Cornstalk's curse. Maybe not.
Nothing more fun than learning a song, or finishing a video, or doing anything that requires a bit of commitment but ultimately has a bit of payoff. And you know what has a lot of payoff? YouTube. I love doing it. So, you made it to the end of this video. I set my guitar back on its stand and it didn't fall over and die. Overall, I'd say we've had a pretty good time together. Yeah? You know, I'm talking to a camera here pretending it's a person, but yeah, you've made it this far. We probably had a good time. So go ahead and just press subscribe. It's completely free. It helps me pursue my dreams. If you hate my guts, you can always undo it later. But you're clearly mildly bored. I'm clearly mildly entertaining. We can really help each other out. So go ahead and just do it. I know a while back, it has been a long while for long-time viewers of this channel since another pen has made an iceberg. This is like a groundbreaking moment. Mostly because I didn't like only doing icebergs. I wanted to do other stuff. But icebergs are fun. I do enjoy doing them sometimes. And I saw this one iceberg, and this person I've mentioned, like, get a little bell to ding every time I mention this person. I saw this. It's a Mothman iceberg, and I was like, oh my god, it's that person. And I also watch all of these videos. So, yeah. I love doing stuff for my friends. Now, I lost my train of thought. It's back. It's been forever since I've made an iceberg. I figured I'd use my free time arc to go ahead and do one. This one is a topic that I think is pretty funny, pretty cool to do an iceberg on, so I decided to do an iceberg on it. That's simple. Does this mean it's back to icebergs 24/7? No, but this one was nice. It was short, it was easy. I enjoyed doing it. Overall, I had a good time. And hopefully, everyone else had a good time. So, as always, thanks to you for watching this far. Thanks to the people who hopefully saw this video and were like, yeah, I'll the words caught in my throat. Yeah, I'll subscribe to this guy's YouTube channel. He's definitely not violently unhinged. I'm losing my mind. thanks to the patrons, they fund this whole thing. You can always join the Patreon. The link is down in the description below. It just helps me out a lot, gives you access to things like polls on what the next videos are going to be. But most importantly, just thanks for being here, man. I love being able to do this. So, have a great time. And until next time, memento mori.